So we have a couple of questions, and let me just pose these really quickly. And Niladri, I'm going to pose this one directly to you. Is there a definitive line that defines the security roles and the responsibilities of an SRE?
So as we see that when we are looking at reliability, it includes security. On the other side, if we are looking at DevSecOps, we are also looking at security to be everybody's responsibility. So from both sides, this comes in. Second point is SREs, starting from the design of a system, they come as advisors and bring that wisdom of production to the developer. So there also, whatever is related to the security related to the operation side, like your firewalls, like your port binding, like how you are segregating the firewalls in such a manner that it is not just one outside perimeter that we are protecting, we are also protecting the inside perimeter for the internal attacks, not just external attacks. How are we designing to make sure that our systems are built in such a manner that even if the attacker attacks, let's say, a database, it can access only a little bit of the whole thing and not the whole database and create a havoc. How are we designing those things? Obviously, SREs play roles in bringing those wisdom to the table.
Thank you. And someone actually asked a question about where does SRE fit into service design, and I hope you took away a lot of good perspectives on that from Niladri's part of the presentation. So we have two questions that are sort of related, and Craig, I'm going to pose them to you first, and then we can, Niladri and I can weigh in. They both have to do with service desk, which I think is interesting. So let me read you the questions, and then let me get you to comment. Number one, what impact does SRE adoption generally have on a service desk or on frontline support? And the other part is, how can the service desk assist development folks and the infrastructure folks into implementing an SRE model? So very interesting questions.
Yeah, the service desk is quite often at the sort of forefront of dealing with incidents and issues, and also dealing with a lot of toil. Sometimes things that are raised to the service desk are quite often, repetitive, non-value adding things. There's definitely some scope there to invest a bit of time in understanding what sort of work is sort of happening there, to the point of then looking to automate through self-service capabilities, some of that. Looking to see, getting some data about what the service desk is being tasked with is key to kicking that off. I also see a lot of service desks that are fully stocked and working 100% of the time, just dealing with, toil-related issues, to the point where I think the term is like engineering bankruptcy. I think Damon Edwards coined that term. It's where there's no time at all to look at any form of improvement, because people are just 100% focused on dealing with tickets, dealing with toil, dealing with incidents, dealing with service desk requests. You do need to carve out a bit of time to try and put in place some improvement opportunities. First base is just getting some data, what kind of requests are coming through, what categories are there, and then really looking at those that could be improved through either automation or other capabilities. So yes, definitely the service desk is at the forefront of this.
I agree 100%. I mean, they've got the voice of the customer, right? So that ability to capture data, that ability to collect customer feedback and pass that back, whether it's to the SRE teams or to the dev teams. I also think, one of the questions was, what impact does SRE adoption generally have on a service desk? If this is all being done right, if Agile and Lean and DevOps and SRE all come together, we see, or significant reduction in the number of incidents, and certainly in the number of incidents that the first time we hear about that incident is by a user calling the service desk, right? Hopefully we're catching it because a monitoring system is catching it and we're dealing with it before there's even any impact. So, we can anticipate, we want to, we hopefully see a reduction in those incidents. And what that then does is free up the service desk to be more proactive and to move to, and this is really where the service desk is heading, to where their role is much more consultative. So they're helping folks understand how to use technology in order to be productive, instead of helping people fix technology along the way.
Yeah, I've got a good example of that. I mean, I know one organization I worked with where they automated a lot of the incident response activities to the point where, it was simply a case of posting a message in a Slack channel and everything would jump into place. It would open up an incident ticket, there'd be a telephone bridge open, which would dial in people who were impacted. It would also surface a lot of the information associated with the incident. So the help desk staff there were actually trained to go out and get as much information as they could, system context, stack dumps, data, everything that would make it easier to resolve the issue. So yes, it isn't a cost-cutting measure. This, sometimes people think, well, we're going to get rid of the help desk because we're going to automate everything. That's not the case. What you want to do is invest the time return in training people to be able to widen their ability to help out with actual incident support and incident fix.
Right. A very quick, Craig, I want to throw a quick question your way, or Niladri, either one of you want to weigh in. So the question related to how change and incident management work with SRE, and I spoke to that a little bit, but the specific question is, does the NOC not exist anymore in this model?
Sorry, I don't think I fully understood the question.
Does the NOC not exist anymore in this model? And the network, the traditional network operation command center, right? That big command center where they got all their monitoring.
I think it does still exist. It just it sort of has less sort of size and gravity and scale, I think, that it does at the moment. We've moved to a model where a lot of this incident response is automated, a lot of self-healing sort of services and products on the back of chaos engineering. It is less of a sort of a command sort of center, maybe it's more of a reporting and an oversight center looking to prioritize investments in further improvement areas. So often it's sort of seen as the sort of the superhero dealing with the issues, and actually we're moving away from sort of superhero syndrome to the point where, yep, things are going to happen, changes, things are going to break, we're going to get incidents. And an ideal world, observability would have given us an early warning that a potential issue was coming, and we may have done some mitigating action beforehand. Or it may be that the incident surfaced, but we had some automated response to it. And it may be that the exception is that there are some major incidents that do still need that kind of oversight.
Just to add to this, I think one of the points that we need to look at is the change from the project to product approach. And this answers to the previous question as well as this one. So one of the ways that we are currently trying to look at is bring all of these as platform as a service. So whether you call it by a different name or whatever name it is, the NOC or the whole of the platform. So everything will come as a platform as service to the different application clusters that you are going to support. Saying that it is the same set of people who are now not only looking at the development. When I say same set of people, I'm talking about the same group, not the same individuals. So the same group or squad or whatever you call it, that is the team which is taking care of end-to-end responsibility of a cluster of applications which comes together. And now we don't want to have that level 1, level 2, level 3 kind of support, because that's more and more handoffs. So even if we look at a service desk, and if we look at the older ITILs also, even though it did not specifically mention, but still it indicated that the service desk should be able to solve certain problems. So if you look at, I mean, if I have a problem with my router at my home, and when I call up the service provider, I don't want somebody to just ask me to ping and take my power on and off, and if it doesn't work after 15 minutes, tells me this is my service ticket. I'm not very happy about it. So we are trying to avoid that, and that's why we are saying the person who created the pain should solve the pain. And that's where the people who have created it also, so the SREs comes, the development teams comes and sits on call for a certain period of time. So relating to whatever it is the specialists, the actual creators of that, who is able to help the customer out, giving more satisfaction and having lesser outage. That's the main objective. So from that point of view, if you look at a platform kind of an environment and platform as a service, from the whole operations point of view, it is a different way of happening. So, but it is not eliminating those places. Similarly, if you look at network, I think one of the points which are coming up again is that, like infrastructure as code, we are trying to get into a network as code. The more and more we can get network as code, the more easy it will be for things to be handled. But the experts still will be experts, and they are the people who will manage that platform.
Right. Excellent. Thank you so much. Well, thank you, Niladri.
I think
Thank you,
there's one
Craig.
question that is there. I can see, I think that is the last question that is there. John Shores of HR Block. There's a question. Anybody wants to take it?
So here, let me get that. We're struggling with how to build the capabilities needed to morph into DevOps and SRE. There's a faction that thinks we should embed ops into dev teams as an accelerator. I see this as a crutch. The dev teams don't seem to be creating the capacity to think about ops things, which is where the wisdom of production comes into play, right? Because of demands to build code. Curious how others have managed demand capacity within the DevOps teams to grow new capabilities and focus on work dev has not been involved in before.
I can give a bit of a view on that. I also embrace some of the agile approaches and things like Scrum, with sort of cross-functional teams working closely together on tight time-bound iterations. You know, you can bring dev and ops together, as well as sort of business representatives in there, to sort of build more capability, to allow teams to take ownership of end-to-end value delivery. So some of the agile practices can certainly help there. And other things to sort of consider is, you know, all organizations nowadays need to become learning organizations. They need to carve out some time to be able to look to the future and introduce new concepts, new techniques, and just carving out, you know, a day per sprint or whatever can definitely help with that kind of approach.
Absolutely. I think the learning part is very important, as it is important for the dev team to learn at least. I mean, they don't need to really go and manage the network and servers and all these things, but they need to understand the basics of operations. What is a port? What is router? What is racks? What is switch? What is the firewall? What is software load balancing? What is hardware load balancing? Have those ideas. Similarly, the operations side needs to learn a little bit of coding in terms of, because we are moving from physically managing things on the cloud scenario, we are moving into infrastructure as code. So those products that are there. Number two, if we are looking at customizing and building custom solutions for doing a lot of automation to reduce, to have more number of automated incident management rather than physically people doing things which are repetitive, they need also to start thinking of, from the coding point of view. May not be they will write the whole system, they will still use the development people to do it, but that thought process and what they need to do has to be specified by them. So there is a need of understanding and learning from both the sides.
And I think I would just add in as kind of a closing comment, you know, part of introducing any new approach into an organization begins with establishing a little bit of a common vocabulary, a common understanding of what the concept is. So, you know, of course, I feel strongly that some education is useful. Again, if you're going to start throwing around terms like toil and error budget, you need to understand the what and why of them. You need to understand you need to understand the culture change that this represents and the shift in thinking that needs to occur in order for these concepts to really be embraced and successful within your organization. So congratulations, Craig, on the Site Reliability Engineering Foundation class. It looks great. We are very, very excited to be launching that class coming up in September. And on that note, I'm going to thank everybody. Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Niladri. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. And we hope you learned a little bit along the way, got your questions answered, and we look forward to seeing you in future webinars. So
thank you very much. It's been great to be part of it. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Stay
Hi,
safe.
everybody. Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye, all.
Thanks, all.